A glass of fruit juice is supposed to be one thing, fruit squeezed, that is it. The label shows an orchard at sunrise, dew on the apples, a little wooden crate, the word natural in soft, friendly lettering. It is not. What is actually in that bottle is water, sugar, citric acid, a synthetic color called Red 40, and a flavor cocktail engineered in a lab to taste like fruit you will never actually drink. Americans spend more than $150 billion a year on packaged drinks, juices, sports drinks, vitamin waters, sodas, the entire wall of color at the front of every supermarket in the country. And here is the number that should bother you. Some products sold right next to real juice contain as little as 5% actual juice. 5%. The other 95% is water and sweetener wearing a fruit costume. Some drinks marketed as healthy contain more sugar per bottle than a can of cola, but not every brand is guilty. I spent over 40 hours auditing 48 of the most popular drinks on the American supermarket shelf. I read every ingredient panel. I checked the percent juice declarations the law requires. I pulled federal lawsuits, settlement documents, and independent lab tests. I ran kitchen tests on my own counter, and the results were not what I expected. Out of 48 drinks, only 6 came out actually clean. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which brands to leave on the shelf, which 6 are worth every cent, and you will know the 60-second test that tells you the truth before you ever spend $1. But before we get into the brands, you need to understand the loophole, because without it, none of this makes sense. Let me show you how a real fruit drink is supposed to be made. You take fruit, you wash it, you press it, you bottle it. If you want it shelf stable, you pasteurize it gently. Real juice is expensive because fruit is expensive. It bruises, it spoils. It costs money to grow, to pick, to ship cold, and to press. A bottle of genuine cold-pressed juice can take 2 or 3 pounds of fruit to fill. Now here is the math that changed the entire industry. A factory bottling thousands of units an hour cannot afford 2 pounds of fruit in every bottle. Fruit is the most expensive thing in the building. So the formula gets flipped. Start with water, which is nearly free. Add sweetener, which is cheap. Add a splash of juice or juice concentrate so you can legally put a piece of fruit on the front. Then rebuild the flavor, the color, and the mouthfeel with additives. Let me walk you through the shortcut ingredient by ingredient. First, the sweetener, usually high fructose corn syrup or plain sugar, sometimes both. In a so-called healthy drink, it might be cane sugar, so the label can say cane sugar, which sounds wholesome and is still sugar. Second, the flavor. You will see the words natural flavors on almost every one of these bottles. Here is what most people do not realize. Natural flavors is a catch-all term the FDA allows. It can be a blend of dozens of chemical compounds as long as the starting material came from a plant or animal source. It tells you almost nothing. It is one of the most permissive phrases in the entire food code. Third, the color. Red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1. These are petroleum-derived dyes. They exist for one reason, to make water look like fruit. A clear sugar solution does not sell, a glowing red one does. Fourth, the acids and preservatives. Citric acid for tang, sodium benzoate, and potassium sorbate to stop mold. Ascorbic acid added back because the real vitamin C got destroyed or was never there. And then comes the loophole that ties it all together. The FDA requires a percent juice declaration on any beverage that claims or implies it contains juice. But the rules around the words are loose. The word juice is regulated. The words drink, beverage, cocktail, punch, and blend are not the same thing. A product called a fruit punch or a juice drink or a juice cocktail can contain almost no real juice at all, as long as the percentage appears somewhere on the label, usually in tiny print near the bottom. That is the loophole. That is the standard the FDA permits. A drink can be 95% water and sugar, call itself fruit, and be operating completely within the law. None of this is hidden. It is all printed on the carton. It is just printed where you were never meant to look. And once you understand that loophole, you start to realize that reading labels is a skill, one that takes practice, the right framework, and knowing exactly what to look for. If you want to go deeper than one video, I put everything I know into a field guide called The Label Audit, part of a complete set that includes the ingredient standard and the complete pantry field edition, all available for $97 at ElilahBellDetective.com, linked in the description. These are the exact tools I use when I walk into any aisle and need to know the truth fast. If flipping the bottle is the habit, the books are the training behind it. Now, with that in mind, let us get into the brands that are actually worth your money and the ones you need to walk away from. So, let us flip the bottles. Skip one, the classic fruit punch and orange-style juice drinks, the ones in the giant jug with the cartoon sunshine and the words made with real fruit juice. Flip the bottle and read the back, not the front. The first ingredient is water. The second is high fructose corn syrup or sugar. Then you find it. The percent juice line. Many of these contain 2% juice or less. 2%. Then comes the parade. Citric acid, natural flavors, modified food starch, yellow 6, yellow 5. That bright orange color is not from oranges. It is from dye. This is the tell. When water is the first ingredient and the fruit is a rounding error, you are not buying juice. You are buying sugar water with a fruit label and a coloring kit. This is not bad juice. It is not even juice. It is a soft drink that learned to dress like breakfast. Skip 2, the premium 100% juice that hides a different problem. This one is honest about being juice. It really is 100%. The trap here is not the percentage. It is what comes along for the ride. In 2019, Consumer Reports tested 45 popular fruit juices for heavy metals. They found that nearly half contained concerning levels of arsenic, cadmium, or lead, and the worst offenders included grape juices and certain juice blends. The reason is simple. To make juice cheap, manufacturers buy concentrate from wherever it is cheapest in the world, and heavy metals in soil and groundwater concentrate right along with the fruit. So 100% juice can be 100% real and still carry a load you never agreed to drink. And because it is concentrated fruit sugar, a single cup can hold the sugar of 3 or 4 whole pieces of fruit with none of the fiber that would slow it down. This is not a fraud, it is a real product. But premium and pure are not the same as clean. Skip 3, the vitamin water. This is where the marketing gets aggressive. Words like focus, energy, power, defense, printed right on the bottle in cheerful colors. The promise is hydration plus health in one swallow. Flip the bottle. In most standard versions, the second ingredient right after water is sugar. A single 20-ounce bottle can carry around 30 grams of sugar. That is roughly the same as a can of soda. The added vitamins are real, but they are cheap synthetic vitamins that cost the manufacturer pennies. And this is not just my opinion. In 2009, the Center for Science in the Public Interest sued the maker of vitamin water, which is owned by Coca-Cola, over its health messaging. In court, lawyers for the company argued that no consumer could reasonably be misled into thinking vitamin water was a healthy beverage. Read that again. Their own defense was that no reasonable person would believe the health halo they were selling. The company later changed elements of its labeling. This is sugar water with a multivitamin dissolved in it. The vitamins are the magic trick. The sugar is the product. Skip 4. The all-natural premium smoothie in the clear bottle. The one that looks like it was blended this morning by someone who does yoga. Green ones, red ones, words like kale, mango, machine. The front says all natural, no added sugar. Here is the trap, and it is a documented one. In 2013, the maker of Naked Juice, which is owned by PepsiCo, agreed to a $9 million settlement in a class action lawsuit. The complaint alleged that the all-natural and non-GMO claims were misleading because the products contained ingredients like an added synthetic vitamin compound and other processed additives. As part of the settlement, the company agreed to stop using the words all-natural on those products. They did not admit wrongdoing. They paid $9 million and dropped the phrase. And even setting the lawsuit aside, Flip one of these bottles and find the sugar line. Some of these fruit smoothies contain more than 50 grams of sugar in a single bottle. No added sugar, technically true, because it all comes from concentrated fruit. But your bloodstream cannot read the label. 53 grams of sugar is 53 grams of sugar, whether a marketer calls it natural or not. No added sugar does not mean low sugar. All natural does not mean what you think it means. That is the percent of percentages right there. Coming up, the brands that actually get this right, and one of them is plain, boring, and costs less than almost everything we just talked about. Stay with me, because that one changes how you shop forever. Skip 5. The big name sports drink, the one every athlete on television seems to be drinking, the one positioned as performance, electrolytes, science. Flip the bottle. The first ingredients are water and sugar, usually sucrose and dextrose, often more than 30 grams in a bottle. Then the dyes. Blue 1, yellow 5, red 40. That neon blue and electric red are pure color additive, but here is the part that matters. For years, certain flavors of major sports drinks contained an ingredient called brominated vegetable oil, or BVO. It was used to keep the flavor and the cloudy citrus look evenly mixed. Public pressure pushed it out of the leading brands years ago, and then in July of 2024, the FDA went further. It revoked the authorization for brominated vegetable oil in food entirely after concluding it was no longer considered safe. An ingredient that sat in mainstream American drinks for decades was federally pulled off the table. So when a sports drink wraps itself in the language of health and performance, remember what was floating in some of those bottles until very recently. For most people on a normal day, this is not hydration. It is sugar, salt, and dye. This is a sugar delivery system wearing a jersey. Skip 6, and this is the one I saved for last, because it is the strongest case of all. The pomegranate juice that built an empire on the promise that it could fight disease. POM, wonderful. The little curvy bottle shaped like two pomegranates stacked together. The marketing told you in so many words that this juice could help with heart disease, prostate cancer, and erectile dysfunction. Premium price, premium promise. The Federal Trade Commission did not agree. The FTC brought a case against POM, wonderful, for deceptive advertising, charging that the company made disease treatment and prevention claims that were not supported by adequate scientific evidence. The case went all the way through the federal system. In 2015, a federal appeals court upheld the FTC's finding that many of POM's health claims were deceptive. The juice itself is real pomegranate juice. The problem was never the fruit. The problem was the promise. And separately, in a different and famous case, POM Wonderful took Coca-Cola to the Supreme Court over a competing product's misleading label, and the court sided with POM, confirming that companies can sue each other over deceptive beverage labeling. So this one brand sits on both sides of the courtroom, sued the deceiver, and was found to be a deceiver. The lesson is bigger than one bottle. A health claim on a drink is a marketing decision, not a medical fact. When a beverage promises to treat a disease, the burden of proof belongs to them, and a federal court has already shown how often that proof does not exist. So that is the skip list. 6 drinks, 6 different tricks, water disguised as fruit, pure juice carrying heavy metals, sugar disguised as vitamins, concentrate disguised as fresh, dye disguised as performance, and marketing disguised as medicine. Now, here is the good news. You do not need a laboratory to test your drinks. You need about 60 seconds and the back of the bottle. 3 tests, any kitchen, any aisle. Test 1. Read the ingredient order and stop at the first one. Ingredients are listed by weight, most to least. If the first word is water and the second word is any kind of sugar or syrup, you already know what you are holding. A real 100% juice will list a juice first. A clean, sparkling water will list carbonated water and very little else. The first 2 words tell you almost the whole story. Test 2. Find the percent juice line and do the sugar math. Flip the bottle, find the small print that says contains a certain percent juice. If it says 2% or 10%, that is your answer. Then look at the sugar grams per serving and check the serving size, because a bottle is often 2 or even 2.5 servings. Multiply it out. If the whole bottle is carrying 30, 40, 50 grams of sugar, treat it like a dessert, not a drink. Anything over about 25 grams in a bottle, put it back. Test 3, the highlighter test. Look at the color. Then look for the dye words. Red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1. If a drink is the color of a traffic cone or a swimming pool, that color came from a factory, not a fruit. Real fruit makes muted, earthy, slightly cloudy colors. If it glows, it is engineered. And if the ingredient list is longer than your hand, count the additives. A real drink needs 3 or 4 ingredients. When you see 10, 12, 15, you are not buying a drink, you are buying a formula. That is it. First ingredient, sugar math, dye check. 60 seconds, no lab required. Now let us talk about the 6 that passed, the ones worth your money, because once you know what clean actually looks like, you cannot unsee it. Real one. Spindrift. This is the sparkling water that started in a kitchen. The founder, Bill Creelman, set out to make a fizzy drink with real squeezed fruit instead of flavoring. Flip the can, and here is the entire ingredient list on the lemon one. Carbonated water and lemon juice. That is it. Full stop. On the others, carbonated water and a little real fruit juice. No natural flavors hiding anything. No sweetener. No dye. The reason Spindrift looks slightly cloudy is because there is actual fruit pulp in it. The color is muted because it is real. A few calories per can from the fruit itself. This is what flavored water is supposed to be. Real too. GT's Living Foods Kombucha. The story here is genuine. GT Dave started bottling kombucha out of his family home in the 1990s, and he refused to pasteurize it because heat kills the living cultures that are the entire point. Flip the bottle, organic raw kombucha made from tea, and that is the base. It is fermented, raw, and alive with very little sugar left because the fermentation eats most of it. Read the sugar line and compare it to the soda you just put down. This is a fizzy, tangy drink with actual living cultures, not a chemistry set. If you want the fizz and the tang without the sugar bomb, this is it. Real 3. Mountain Valley spring water. This one is almost funny in how simple it is. Flip the bottle. Spring water. The end. It comes from a single protected spring source in Arkansas, and it has been bottled since the 1870s. No flavors, no sweetener, no vitamins added to justify a markup. Just water with its natural minerals intact. In a wall of bottles screaming about energy and defense and focus, the most honest product makes no promise at all. It is just clean water, and that is the whole pitch. Real 4. Harmless Harvest Organic Coconut Water. Coconut water is one of the most faked categories on the shelf, because real coconut water is expensive and most brands quietly rebuild it from concentrate and additives. Flip this one. Organic coconut water. That is the ingredient. No added sugar. No natural flavors patching up flavor that got lost. The slightly pink tint that sometimes appears actually comes from the coconut's natural antioxidants reacting with light, not from dye. It is one of the few coconut waters that tastes like it came out of a coconut, because it basically did Real 5. Lakewood Organic Pure Juices. If you want actual 100% juice and you want it done right, this is the family-owned brand to look for. They have been pressing juice since the 1930s, and they sell genuine single fruit juices with the ingredient list you would hope for. Pure organic juice, pressed sometimes with a little organic lemon to protect color. No added sugar, no concentrate games, no synthetic vitamins added to fake nutrition. Now, remember test 2. Even pure juice is concentrated fruit sugar, so I treat this as a real food to use in small amounts, splashed into water or sipped in a small glass, not chugged by the liter. But when you want juice, this is juice. Real fruit, honestly labeled. Real 6. And this is the value play winner. Plain sparkling mineral water, the boring hero. Something like Topo Chico, which has been bottled from a mineral spring in Mexico since the 1890s, or a simple store brand seltzer, flip the bottle, carbonated water, natural mineral salts, nothing else. Zero sugar, zero dye, zero calories. And here is the part nobody tells you. This is often the cheapest thing in the entire beverage aisle. A liter of sparkling mineral water frequently costs less than a single bottle of vitamin water, less than a sports drink, less than a premium smoothie. That is not a premium. That is a bargain. The best drink on the shelf is not the most expensive one. It is one of the cheapest. We have been trained to believe that clean costs more, and the beverage aisle is living proof that it is often the opposite. The fancy bottle with the health claims costs $3. The honest one costs $1. You have been paying extra for the costume, so let us step back and look at what the industry actually did. They replaced fruit with water. They replaced juice with sugar. They replaced real color with petroleum dye. They replaced flavor with a lab compound called natural flavors. They replaced honest hydration with health claims that a federal court had to strike down. They took the cheapest liquid on earth, water, dressed it in an orchard at sunrise, and sold it back to you at a premium. And here is the most important thing I can tell you. Almost none of this is illegal. The 2% juice drink, the sugar in the vitamin water, the dye in the sports drink, the all-natural smoothie with 50 grams of sugar, it is all disclosed somewhere on the label, in the small print, in language the rules permit. It is perfectly legal. That is exactly the problem. The law lets them tell the truth in a place you were never meant to read. I want to be fair, because honesty is the whole point here. A glass of fruit punch will not hurt you. One sports drink on a hot day is fine. This is not an argument that the sky is falling or that you can never enjoy a soda again. The dyes and additives in these drinks are legal, and most are not going to harm you in a single serving. But you deserve to know what you are actually buying. You deserve to know that the orchard on the label is a painting, that the fruit is a rounding error, and that the cheapest bottle on the shelf is often the cleanest one. But now you know the playbook. You know the loophole. You know the 3 tests. First ingredient, sugar math, dye check. You know which 6 brands to leave on the shelf, and you know that the honest ones, the sparkling water with real fruit, the raw kombucha, the spring water, the coconut water, the true juice, and the plain mineral water that costs almost nothing, are sitting right there in the same aisle, waiting for you to flip the bottle. Your health is not a commodity for these corporations to optimize. Your grocery budget deserves better than colored sugar water in a bottle that promises you focus and energy and pretends to be fruit. So next time you stand in front of that wall of color, do not read the front, flip the bottle, read the back. The first 2 ingredients will tell you everything, and the small print will tell you the rest. If this video helped you see your grocery shelf differently, subscribe. We audit the food industry so you do not have to. Hit the bell so you never miss the next investigation, because next time we are flipping the carton on something sitting in your refrigerator right now. And if there is a drink you want me to put on the lab table next, tell me in the comments. I read them, and the worst offenders usually come straight from you. 48 drinks, only 6 clean. Now you know which ones, and now you know how to check for yourself. Because you have the right to know the truth, and let me leave you with one last thing to carry into that aisle. The drinks that lie the loudest are almost always the ones making the biggest promises. Defense, energy, focus, antioxidant, immunity. The bigger the claim on the front, the smaller the fruit on the back. Real food does not need to shout. Spring water makes no promise. Real juice just says juice. Sparkling water just says carbonated water. The quietest bottle on the shelf is usually the most honest one in the building, so trust the back of the label, not the front. Trust the ingredient order, trust the math, and trust that you now see exactly what they hoped you never would. That is the whole game, and from today, you are the one holding the rules. I'm so glad you stayed to the end. It tells me you really care. If you'd like to go further, join me inside the Honest Label Society, where members get the kitchen test on every bottle, picking up right where we stopped. Ask me your own question, and I answer you myself, a real person. You belong here with us. Just point your phone at the code on screen and cancel anytime, no risk,